All right. Uh, Sorry for no intro. I didn't have time to do it with my work schedule. But it is what it is. I'm back to work and money's flowing in, so I can't really complain. But with that said, I'm Chris, also known as Hotel Nerd, and I'm joined today by Galleghost, movie trivia schmodown pro. Going to be asking a lot of questions schmodown related today. So if anybody is in the chat and wants to chat with us, have at it. If you want to send any questions, send the donations in Streamlabs. I have the link posted above my head. So with that, let's get started. And the first question I have for you is, how did you get involved in the industry? Like, what was the bug that triggered you to want to get into the industry?
With the industry, you mean with the Schmodown in particular?
Like film industry, Schmodown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Probably the biggest, the big bug that I caught in terms of the industry was, I remember I was about 11 years old, and I had watched Terminator 2 for the first time in like 6 or 7 years since I was a kid. Since I was way small, and then I literally just remember just being like, I want to do that. I want to do that when I'm older. And luckily, that box set, that Blu-ray box set actually had like all these special features on it and stuff like that. So it was almost like a film school primer before going to film school. So that was definitely a big inspiration for me. And just going forward with every single new movie that would come out, it was basically just like a film school in the box type of thing. So yeah, that's probably that was probably the big bug that I had going into the industry at first, was just wanting to do that all over again and just wanting to create something like that. And yeah, and then I went to film school in Chicago and learned the ropes over there. Worked on and probably one of the biggest things as well too was working on my first set over in Chicago as well. And that's kind of when I solidified myself, and I was just like, yep, I definitely want to be in this industry.
So how long did you live in Chicago for? Was it just for going to film school, or did you stay a little bit longer?
No, I definitely stayed a little bit longer in Chicago. I lived there from 2006 all the way up until 2014. So that's about a good 8 years or so that I was down there. First 4 years I was there, I was definitely going to school and stuff like that. I was commuting back and forth between Chicago and the East Coast over in Connecticut, where I'm originally from. And then afterwards, I was starting to get on more sets, and I was starting to get on more projects and stuff like that. So like, yeah, it was about 8 years or so, and a good 6 of those was a lot of set work and stuff like that, where there'd be independent stuff or just even the big budget stuff as well too.
Did you do any of the Chicago shows at all, like Fire PD? Med, I think it was the other one.
I worked on Sirens. It was a Dennis Leary show that they were producing. It was a remake of a UK show. That was probably one of the bigger ones that I worked on as well too. But also the other one that I worked on as well, even though I had I had never seen a single episode of the show before, I worked on it. Shameless was another one that I worked on, and it became this giant, huge thing. But the problem was I was living under a rock at that point, and I had never seen the show. And it was so funny that my first day working as a set PA on that, we see like photos of William H. Macy all over the place. And one of my buddies who was working on the show as well was just like, oh man, it's a crazy show, and William H. Macy's great. And then so knowing what I know from William H. Macy before that show, he plays like the lovable avuncular uncle type of character where, he's lovable, he does the right thing. And I'm just like, oh, he probably plays dad on this show, right? And then my buddy's like, yeah, he does. I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably quote unquote hashtag father goals. And then he just looked at me, he goes, you have not seen a single episode of the show, have you? And I'm like, Nope. And then so right afterwards, he took me over to his place. We watched the first season, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is what I'm working on." Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I just was. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. No. But yeah, no. But apart from that, I did work on a couple of the shows over there in Chicago. Probably the biggest one that I worked on. All right, you got a minute for a quick story?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
All right, so probably one of the first sets that I worked on as well was back in 2007. And I had really bad insomnia at that point, being a college student, and just also my first year away from being home and not being with my relatives and my friends. Just sort of just starting off by yourself essentially. So it was around like 12 in the morning or so. I just decided to just walk out of my dorm and just go take a walk over to the dormitories were in downtown Chicago, by the way, too. So I just decided, I'm just going to go over to 7-Eleven and get a quick drink. And so I walk over into 7-Eleven and get a drink. And then as I'm coming out, I run into one of my buddies who I had a development and pre-production class with. And he's just standing outside of this building, just looking depressed and looking just angry and stuff like that. And so I recognized him, and I immediately went up to him. I was like, "Hey, man, how's it going? What you been up to?" He's like, "Dude, I'm working on the set right now. I'm like, honestly, I've just been here for like over so many hours. I'm just ready to go home. I'm so tired." And like I could see the exhaustion on his face. I was just like, "Oh shit, well, I'm not doing anything right now. I can't sleep. If there's a possible way I could switch places with you, I totally would." And then he looks at me and his eyes go wide, and he's just like, "Wait a minute, you actually would do that?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then so he pulls up his radio. Radios his production coordinator, and the production coordinator shows up and starts asking me a couple of questions. It's basically like, what experience have you had working on this type of stuff, which I had none. And so I still have no idea how I got on that set. And they give me this paperwork, and on the paperwork is a massive NDA that basically says whatever you see on the set, you will not talk about. You will not talk about for the rest of your life. and here I'm streaming it, right? but it's been a couple of years, and I don't think anybody's gonna mind by this point. But so they basically give me a giant NDA, and then I see what the title is, and it's Rory's First Kiss. And I'm like, okay, sounds like an indie thing. That's fine, whatever. They're probably treating it as secretly as they possibly can. There's probably some big talent over there. And my buddy goes home, and the production coordinator is walking me around the set, and I keep seeing Rory's First Kiss everywhere, and I don't know what the hell it is. And then the production coordinator sits me in front of this tent, and then he basically says, "All right, your job for today is to basically going to just be guarding this tent, basically making sure that nobody shows up in front of this place, none, like no pedestrians are going to be around this area whatsoever. You basically have to just man the spot." And so I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And he's like, "And first off, do not go into the tent." I'm like, okay, all right, totally fine. So I'm about an hour and a half into basically starting my first day on the set. And I'm still not putting it together. And about an hour and a half later, giant guy in a black suit with pointy ears pops up out of the tent, and I realize it's the Dark Knight.
Are you?
No, no, dead serious.
Wow.
It's the Dark Knight.
That would literally, my reaction I just had there would be it. Like, yeah. What?
Oh yeah, no, and then right then and there, it snapped into me. Oh, this is why NDAs. This is why they had people guarding the set, and this is why they had all this stuff all over the place. And the scene that they were shooting that night was the parking garage scene that opens the film, because it was the original Batman scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the original scene from Batman Begins.
Bit by the dog or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, that one. And because we were right next to a parking structure the entire time, and I was just like, okay, well, it kind of seems like par for the course because, like, in all these sets over in Chicago, you just think, oh, well, it's probably another film school thing, or it's probably just a small independent project and stuff like that. And by this point, the film production over in Chicago is just booting up as well too. Like, this is like Dark Knight was the thing that kicked the doors wide open. Like, there were some things that shot here and there, but afterwards, like, we got, like, after Dark Knight, I worked on Wanted. I worked on Transformers, which was, oh my God, that was a hellscape working on that project.
It seemed like it was a hellscape watching it, to be honest.
Oh goodness. Yeah, no. But on these sets you meet a lot of people and you see the same people over and over again, and you start to develop a repertoire and stuff like that. And that's how I got onto Sirens and Shameless at that point as well too. It's just because people just kept seeing me over and over again. And they go, and when you pull up a resume, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Batman and Transformers. This guy must have been through the shit, so he probably knows what he's doing.
Now, was it Bale in the suit? Can you answer that without?
Yeah, it was.
Getting yourself into trouble?
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
I always wondered if Bale was actually physically in the suit, or if there was a body double that was doing all of his stuff for him.
There was a body double that would be on set that would basically do half the stunts and all that other stuff as well too, but just whatever he couldn't do. There was two people. There was two people wearing the suit at once, but for the tent that I was assigned to guard, I think that was from what I gather, I think that was Bale's tent, but it's because the production coordinator and all that other stuff, like having been on a couple of sets, they don't tell you to avoid somewhere unless there's talent there. So that's probably the big thing. But from what I was told later on is that apparently after I worked on Batman for like maybe about I think it was about 3 weeks or a month or so before I had to ship back over at home and go back to the East Coast. And oh my God, probably one of the biggest disappointments probably one of the biggest regrets of my life was just they had offered me, because I was working great with the crew and stuff like that, and I was a night owl, and I basically just operated on 2 hours of sleep, and I was just like bright and shiny going in the next day and all this other stuff. I got a call from my production coordinator, and they basically said, hey, would you be up for making this, not necessarily making a permanent thing, but would you be on to stay for the rest of the shoot? And by that point, I was still going back and forth between Chicago and the East Coast. And the problem was that I wasn't established enough out there in Chicago where I had a buddy to stay with, and I wasn't making that much to get my own apartment and stuff like that. So I basically just had to, oh man, still to this day, like when I think about it, I had to say, I had to pass on the opportunity and stuff like that. And then a couple of my friends that were on the set were all texting me when I was working on my shady movie theater job back over in the East Coast. And they were texting me just like, oh my God, we just saw Ledger in the costume and stuff like that. And oh, like they were talking about this thing where apparently they got in trouble because paparazzos snapped a couple of photos of Ledger in makeup.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember when that leaked.
Yeah, it leaked, and there were a couple of photos of him on a skateboard, literally going up and down LaSalle. That was that was in part because of my friends, because what they would do is they were shooting the Tumblr chase sequence. They were shooting the Tumblr chase sequence, and the problem was that with PAs, whenever you go down the sets and stuff like that, whenever you do like any of these high speed chases, like just imagine for every single shot there is a moment where about a half a mile away is where the car starts, and about another half a mile down is where you basically stop the shot. And if you can imagine PAs running up and down the street and stuff like that. And then some of my friends just decided to just take some skateboards with them just to kind of make it a little easier. And then apparently Ledger saw that they all had skateboards and stuff like that, and basically just decided to start chatting up with them and start riding on the board. And those were the shots that leaked out to the paparazzi, was just Ledger on the skateboard. And so many people were just going, wait a minute, but the Joker's on a skateboard and he's not in the coat. What does that mean? And it's just like, oh my god, like just the amount of scrutiny that people have to go through in order to do these movies. It's just
gotta love social media. Gotta love nerds like me that pull things apart like that.
Yeah, and then sometimes just like it's actually just a lot more simple than that, and it's not nearly as complex as people make it out to be at certain points.
Most of the time, I find that to be the case. That generally tends to be where it's just because there is no story behind it. I mean, there is, but it's normally somebody has a skateboard, the actor knows how to skateboard, the actor says, fuck it, I'm skateboarding. I'm bored.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but nothing to do with the movie.
Oh yeah, no, nothing to do with the movie, and it's just so sometimes just certain things happen, and then it ends up all over the place. But like, that kind of comes with the territory with certain things like that. But yeah, no. But apart from that, I mean, like, just the whole experience was just a great learning experience overall. I mean, even for the 3 weeks that I was there, like it was still just like for someone that was still going through film school at the same time as well, and seeing what the process was and seeing how crews and all this
basically
stuff.
you had an in school internship, basically.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. That was the thing that also helped me out later on, was that I spoke about this to my counselor at the college, and he was like, "Wait a minute, you're already working on a set?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I was going to give you this list of like my counselor Rich, like he was just like he imparted on me like this great word of advice that was just like, get on as many sets as you can. Just whatever comes along, if you have time, take it. Because here's the thing: is that a lot of people, like, even actors and even some creatives and stuff like that, like, the one thing, sometimes people will just go into a thing just going like, well, how can this help me out later on? And sometimes you just have to, sometimes you just have to, for lack of a better word, be nice and just dedicate some of your time and just try to help out your fellow filmmakers. And, sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And in my case, I was just buddies with a guy over in a development pre-production class. And I just ran into him, and I just went over to say hi to him and just, chat with him and stuff like that. And that ended up getting me on Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight ended up getting me just people on other crews working on, some reshoots for Wanted, and just working on Transformers later on down the line. Like, it's, you don't know exactly how the pieces are going to fall into play. You just have to know that wherever the pieces are, you just have to be ready for just whatever comes. And sometimes there's going to be really big stuff that leads on later down the line, and then there's going to be stuff that doesn't pay off. But it only takes one thing going right, or only takes that one connection for just everything to fall into play.
Oh yeah, I can attest to that because I'm basically doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out the one day that Roca had to step out and Nerd Chronic came on SEM Live.
Yeah.
And he was the first one. I put the thing out and he reached out to me. He goes, "Hey, I'm free."
Mm-hmm.
So we got Nerd Chronic on. Then Brett reached out and said, "Hey, can we work something out?" So we worked something out. He goes, "Oh, and can Kate be on too?" It's like, yeah, obviously, absolutely. So,
yeah, and if
Brett and Kate would reach out to me today and say, "Hey, when you have an open slot?" It'd be like, we can figure something out. Even if I'm working, like today, I worked this morning,
mm-hmm.
and I will pull basically a double to make it work to get you guys back on. Because
mm-hmm.
I love Brett and Kate on our episode that we had with them. That was great.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And And if I could just put this out there, just even for even a brief moment as well too. I mean, like, I don't think Neurochronic gets nearly enough credit as he does just for just bringing people together.
I know that even as a rookie fan, he doesn't get enough credit for what he does.
Oh yeah, I mean, what is called? I mean, like he's getting a lot of credit for the editing and for just basically being a cool guy as well too. Absolutely, as he rightfully should. But I don't know. It still feels like people just need to like. I have so many things to thank for Eric. I mean, in particular, Neurochronic, and there, like, he's hands down one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Like,
I got that vibe when we talked to him. Like,
oh yeah,
he's like he'd be a great person just to sit down and share a meal with and shoot the shit, pick some brain about stuff. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I get that vibe off of that. Just talking to him for that hour and a half or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And like, what is it called? Like I heard this story on SEN not too long ago where, it was on SEN. It was at Night at the Roxy where JT was talking about how, like, whenever he would get invited to screenings, he always had he always had a +1 and stuff like that. And then he always had this buddy that he would always go to, or his girlfriend that he would always go to screenings with. And then I started thinking about, oh yeah, when I first moved out to LA, like, Eric was always my +1 to some of these screenings because, like, we went to so many screenings together, and I was just like, hey dude, you want to go check out the screening right after work and stuff like that. And it was just funny because I remember one day in particular, like, and that's also the thing too, is that whenever you broaden your net and whenever you talk to as many people as you can, eventually you will know far too many people than you rightfully should in one particular industry. Like, probably the biggest joke between some of my buddies right now is that they're just like, well, Andres, like every 10 seconds, I'm always just like, well, my buddy in the industry is talking about this, or he's talking about that, or he's doing this. And then at some point, Eric's just like, well, you have a buddy that works at Warner Brothers, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Or you have a buddy that works over at 20th Century Fox, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do. but it's just because when you're in film school and when you talk to as many people as you can and you try to be as nice as you can to be to people as well too, it's just a bigger broadening net. And then the thing was that it was so funny when me and Eric, we both went to a screening of something over on the Fox lot. And it was so funny because, like, literally we're standing in line, and as we're standing in line, an old friend of mine sees me in the middle of the line, who's running the screening and stuff like that. An old friend of mine sees me, and then he literally comes out and goes, "Oh, Andres, how you been, man? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, man." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is my friend Eric," and all this other stuff. And then so he takes off, and then Eric looks at me, he goes, "Wow, you really do know people." And I'm like, yeah. It's just people I met in film school and that we've all kept in touch. That's the big key thing about this industry. Don't be an asshole. That's it.
Yeah. You can't complain. That exact cue. Like, I went and I openly asked on Twitter, I asked Christian about using the logo and whatnot for doing the thumbnail, because I didn't want to use any of his intellectual property at all without his express permission. And I even did a schmobot to have him answer it. Like, I basically forced an answer out of him. I didn't want to use it without his permission, because that's who I am, and I didn't do it for PR or anything. I could do it on Twitter the day that I did it, the next day or afterwards as well, and I didn't do it for that. I did that because that's his property, that's his baby. I'm not messing with it. I'm getting permission before I use it. I asked you for permission to use your picture before I had John make the thumbnail up. And because if I have somebody on, I'm going to get your permission before I use your likeness. I'm going to get your permission before I use your logo. I would expect anybody to do it for me. It's common courtesy. And I'm new to the game. I mean, I've only been doing this since the start of the year. So, like you said, don't be an asshole. And I'm definitely. I mean, can I be an asshole? Absolutely. I like to be an asshole? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it's just at the end of the day, I'm trying to build a network. Is that basically exactly what you're saying? Build a network, and eventually you'll know too many people. And and I'm on the ground level of building the network right now, like both figuratively and literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
so anybody that thinks that I'm using it for PR to do that, I'm not. That's who I am.
Yeah, and there's a fine line to walk with that as well too, where it's just, I mean, where it's just the difference between you know. Like as you said, some people think it's self-promotion or PR, but it's also at the same time, it's like, you know, you want to put the word out that someone's coming on board and someone's dedicating some of their time to, you know, showing up, and, you know, it's a gratitude thing as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, so probably the biggest thing you can discern from just my story of Chicago is just don't be an asshole and just be nice.
Yeah, and like, if I'll be honest, if I would somehow get to where you are, and I'm going to use this as a segue here, to be on Snowdown, Christian would say, I want you to be a heel. It's like, I don't know if I could pull that off because I'm not generally an asshole. It's like, I feel really, I would have a problem. It's like, I'm too damn nice to be an asshole. Like, can I be an asshole? Yes. But I'll tell you right now, I'm probably going to need to puke afterwards because it's not me under normal.
Oh, yeah, no. See, I don't know how much of this I can say, but I mean, with some of the discussions that have been going on and stuff like that, like, actually, no, I think I can say this. I was talking to one of the managers right before I got drafted. And one of the questions that kept popping up was, do you see yourself as a heel or do you see yourself as a face? And that was a question that I really had to think about, because it's like, you know what, at the end of the day, a lot of people are more comfortable being the face, or, you know, just trying to be the hero, if that makes any sense. But when I think about stuff like wrestling, when I think about stuff like my favorite eras of certain wrestlers, like you look at some of the stuff from the Attitude Era with what's his name? I mean, I'm sorry, not the Attitude Era, but like pre-Attitude Era. Like you look at Macho Man stuff, like he was a flat out heel, like he was a bad guy, and that was when I thought he was at his peak. And that was just him playing over the top, you know, and that was him where it was the big struggle between him and Hulk Hogan. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? Honestly, like, I mean, like, you know, we all talk about being a face, but at the same time, it's like there is a good line to be walked with when you go heel, and it actually takes a certain amount of talent to be able to do heel properly as well too. Because if you're getting boos or if you're getting people that hate you really fast, you're doing your job, and you have and as many people think as like, it's like, oh, well, you know, if you're a heel, nobody likes you and stuff like that. But, you know, if you walk into a crowd of people and people are booing you all at once, you have control of that room.
Now, you say about getting people to dislike you really fast and whatnot. So, in your opinion, I mean, again, rookie fan here. So, from what I've been hearing, Brandon Hanna is a pretty upstart person, but now he's basically doing the whole burn it all down situation. Would you say he's doing it right, or do you think he's taking it a little bit too far? Because the reason I'm asking that is I listened to SEN Afterlife last week, and Jay said about
sorry, you cut off for a second. Who said it?
Jay. He went and he was the host of SEN Afterlife. He went and he asked, or it was either him or his producer went and asked for Hannah to be on, and they got a really snide remark saying no. And it's like Jay said, he doesn't mind that he said no. It's the way he said no. It was along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing here. I could be doing anything else better than this, or something along that lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could have just said no and been done with this. Instead, he took it to the next level. And do you think that's just him in character 24/7, or is that really where he's going, like, all out?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. I unfortunately have to plead the fifth on that one. But from everything, all I will say is Hannah right now. If he's going heel, he's doing everything. I mean, he's doing everything. He's taking exactly the right steps. That's all I will say. If it's real or if it's not real, I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on that one. But I'm just gonna say, from what you're seeing right now, that's kind of where I'm at as well too. So it's.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like what he's doing. Again, rookie, but from what I'm seeing and from everything I've been told, to do the complete flip, like, I love that. Like, what WWE would have done that to Cena like years ago and made him go, "Oh, I am the good guy. I am champion." To like, fuck you. I'm basically going complete renegade. Yeah, I would have loved that, because I love the flip on the head. Now, if you would ask me to do that, there's no way in hell I could pull that off. I would try to act the heel. You could tell I was faking it, because I can't do it.
Yeah, and there's a certain thing too. I mean, no one ever flat out just like says, like, they want to be the heel or something like that right off the bat. But it's also just kind of just trying to find your way to work that crowd. I mean, like, probably still one of my favorite moments is I was over at Spectacular. I was live at the Spectacular back in December, and the minute Rob Burnett shows up, that audience is booing him, like, just hard booing him, and he's working that crowd and just being like, "Fuck all y'all, like what it's called, I'm the greatest, I'm the best," in the typical way that Rob Burnett does. And it's just, when he turned heel last year, that was I mean, like, that everything he did was pitch perfect on that front. In order, if you wanted to be a heel, he did everything he did everything so right, and it was kind of something that it's kind of something that's interesting to watch. Like, if you've seen Rob Burnett and on other stuff and like on the other podcasts that he guests on, he seems like a fairly reserved guy, but when you put him in front of
I see him a lot on John Campia's show, and he seems really level.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when Campia's going off on this rants, about Rob Pattinson and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden there's Rob Burnett just being calm and collected. And I remember one of the comments at the very bottom is just like, Rob should get an award for being the most patient person on the planet. And the thing is, when you look at that guy that's on that show, and you look at Rob Burnett on Schmodown, they're two completely different people. They're two radically different people.
Jekyll and Hyde scenario.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's also about working the crowd, and it's also about working your angle as well too. And and just, I mean, for lack of a better word, probably one of the biggest lessons The Rock learned as well too was just be authentic to yourself, and just just do what comes naturally. And there's a really great video of it up online where The Rock was basically talking about how when he first showed up onto the scene, he was trying to be the face, and the audience just flat out just wasn't having it. Like, he got booed whenever he would win a match. Like, his gimmick wasn't necessarily there. He was always very thankful to be there and stuff like that, and that only made the audience hate him a little more. And then so Vince McMahon just calls him up and tells him, well, when you come back this season, we can do either one of two things. We can either keep shoving you down people's throats, or we can turn you heel, or we can turn you into a heel because people want to boo you anyway. And that to me was just sort of just like, just that was a big lesson in terms of just leaning in and just seeing where things go naturally. And I thought he was amazing as a heel because, the minute they stopped trying to be a face, he just got even more. I mean, there was something even more, for lack of a better word, admirable about villain Rock, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Like just the fact that he just did not give a crap, and he just did not give a crap, and he did not give a crap if anybody liked him. He knew that he was the best one out of the bunch. He knew that he was the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Like, yeah, it's
yeah. Now he goes up and he gets standing O's like everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, and the same thing with Kurt Angle too. I mean, like people chanted "You suck" every time he showed up to his theme song, and now we all chant "You suck" as a term of endearment. Like he we chant "You suck" because we love him. I was over at what's called No Mercy not too long ago, about 2 or 3 years ago over here in LA. And the minute that Kurt Angle's face shows up on the Titantron, you just hear 4,000 people in unison just chant "You suck," but you could feel it in the air. But you could feel in the air that we all love him, that we all just freaking love Kurt Angle, even though we're saying something terrible and it's something that caught on. But the minute that he stopped trying to be the hero and he just said, "Fuck all y'all," we love him even more. So yeah, it's
kind of like Austin with the whole "what" chant.
Oh my God, I pissed so many people off in middle school with that. Anytime.
Honestly, yeah. I think anybody that's in our generation did that at least once. Like the teacher would be talking and then they'd pause and go, "What?
What? What?" Oh no, it was either between that or what the hell was the one that The Rock would do? Oh, "It doesn't matter." Like that one. That's like probably it turned into a game with me and a couple of my buddies back in middle school where it was just like try to get someone to explain something as long as they possibly could and then just be like, "It doesn't matter what you think." Like when you hear them going on like a little bit of a tangent and then they start getting into what they're saying, you just go, "It doesn't matter."
I'm sure many of the detentions and out-of-school suspensions were earned with those two chants.
Oh yeah. WWE can be attributed to all that stuff. I mean, like Jesus Christ! Like you look at that Attitude Era, they were going insane at that point.
So cycling back around to Schmodown because I'm cycling around. I would love to keep going down a rabbit hole with you because I know you're pressed for time.
Oh yes.
John, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today because he had other prior engagements, he had 2 questions that he wanted me to ask you.
Okay.
And the first one, actually, I guess both of these questions, I don't know if you really can answer them because you might be showing your hand a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I don't know how comfortable you are doing that. But his first question is how do you study for a trivia game like the Schmodown? Like, what are your methods?
Yeah.
Like, do you just bounce off each other, like, as a faction? Do you all just sit in a room and just roundtable it, or what?
That one?
Well, obviously you can't do that right now.
Well, yeah, we can't do that right now, but all I will say is, I mean, I don't want to show my hand too much on this one as well, too, because tons of machinations are going on right now, and also you never know who could be watching at certain points in time. But I will say, we've kept in contact and we've shared some tips with one another, and even Nerd Chronic and Drew have been very helpful in that front as well too, and given me a lot of great pieces of advice and stuff like that. But as far as the exact way we prep, that's something that I'm gonna have to keep. That's something I'm gonna have to plead the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. All right.
I figured as much, but he wanted to see what your answer to that would be.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that it's different between all the competitors, and it's different between all the competitors. What I'm finding out now is that I mean, with certain ways that people train and certain ways that people prepare for these events and stuff like that, it's a real art. It's actually just like a real. It's actually just like a real. It's a real mode of prep that you don't think about when you're just doing it in. I mean, not to diss the fan leagues at all, because even doing that live in front of people that are streaming, that's a talent in itself right there. But trying to figure out how to do that live when the lights are on you, when Harloff and Ellis are just right there, just feeding you the questions and stuff like that. It's a completely different thing. It's absolutely a thing, and it's not necessarily stage fright. It's just circumstance, and it's just also just one of the other things that people don't take into account is the fact that when you're there live, you don't see like a little title card on the very bottom that has like something that you could read the question off of. So you've got to be on top of your game when you're listening to the questions as well too. You can't mishear anything, because if you mishear something, that's going to be also going to be disastrous for you as well too. So it's just a matter of prepping for just what a live event is going to be like, and then just trying to know as much stuff as you can. Because I remember one of the managers was I spoke to one of the managers over at Spectacular right afterwards, and he basically said that anybody can do trivia, anybody can have all these movie facts, but the real key thing is seeing if you can do it in front of an audience and seeing if you can do it in front of the lights. Because even if you're very comfortable, even if you're trained to do that, even if you're an actor, even if you're, whatsoever, online personality or anything like that, it's different when you go in front of the lights, and it's different when you're live, and it's different when they're calling out the questions, and you want to use a JT because you thought you misheard something. I mean, it's the risk that you run. I mean, there's tons of things that go into prep, but as far as the details about certain things, I will say there's a method. It seems like it's working right now. It's great, and all I will say is that it's different between all the factions right now. Yeah, right. I hope that made sense.
Hey, that's fine. Again, I mean, I know me. If I was in your shoes as a competitor, I'd be really sketchy on answering this one. But this is the second question. Are there any categories that you feel like you need more practice on?
Ooh, that's definitely a big pass on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. that's definitely a big one. I mean, even though one of my favorite comic book characters, Superman, put it on blast on a newspaper that his weakness was kryptonite. I think he would have avoided a lot of conflict if he wasn't so brutally honest with Lois Lane. If that makes any sense.
Fair enough.
As far as like my weaknesses go, I can't necessarily dive too much into that, but I will say, just having gone to film school and just going into not only just the genres I do love, but even some of the genres that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of when I originally went to school. Like, there's certain directors that I just think are just kind of like, okay, they don't speak to me at all. I don't like anything that what they're saying at all. It just kind of seems like freaking indie school fare type of thing. It kind of seems like typical, just boring stuff when you go into it. And then when you start getting that knowledge of cinema verte, and you start getting that knowledge of just what they're trying to do, and you see exactly just what they're trying to tell you, you get a better appreciation for them. And that's kind of the way I feel with movies in general, where it's like, there was maybe one genre that I wasn't particularly too big of a fan of, and now it's one of my favorites. It's also one that I feel. I was doing some drills with Drew and Nerd Chronic not too long ago, and it was a particular genre that was like, okay, yeah, no. Before film school, I was not particularly a big fan of the genre, and then now I'm just like, all I can do is talk about the genre. So, yeah, that's.
So you would say your view on like watching a film that you loved before, would you say that it turned your mind around on how you felt about it pre-film school to now? Or
no, like for a film that I didn't like, sometimes it made me like it a little more, because you see what they're trying to do, or you see what they're you see where they failed, and where they fail is where you learn some things, and where probably still to this day I watch just bad movies in general, because what's called, I don't think it's a secret that Bloodshot wasn't necessarily the best film out there, but the thing is that you can't necessarily just even if something's bad, you can't necessarily say no to it and just be like, oh well, it's terrible because of this, without even watching it. You kind of have to put in the work. Good movies are bad. You have to just sort of just go in with an open mind, and you just have to see where they fail and where they do right. And as a filmmaker, that's something that you definitely need to keep in the back of your head, is just why certain things work and why certain things don't work. But in terms of the studying for the Schmodown, sometimes the questions that will get you is the stuff that you're just not that you're not naturally inclined to go see. So you're just like, holy crap, this movie with this actor, I saw the billboards for it, I have no idea what it is. It's you're kind of in a dead end right there. And also, they do have a new release section as well too. So that's something where it's important that, training for the Schmodown, you have to watch everything. You have to try to watch everything, because you never know when you're going to get that slice on the wheel that you're just like, holy crap, I got this, and it's my second spin, so I'm kind of screwed. So, it's all I would say is just keep an open mind when, probably my biggest lesson is keep an open mind when you're studying, and keep an open mind for just any genre that you might not be into, because at the end of the day, it is a study session, it is a grind, but it pays off big. I know I just went on a long tangent right there about bad movies, and your question was what weaknesses do you feel I have, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't actually directly exactly what that is, but all I will say is that every movie counts equally. That's my point of view on that.
All right, I need to give a shout out here to Massive O, all the way from Madagascar, showing support.
Oh wow,
it's awesome! International flavor, I love it.
Oh man, that's great. It's a long way. It's a long way from here, that's for sure. Especially a long way from Pennsylvania. Especially a long way from the East Coast, right?
Yeah. All right, so now on to my questions here real quick.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a heavy-fisted one for you, but who would you want to face the most in the Schmodown right now, the way the rosters are set?
Oh, the way the rosters are set right now, who would I want to face off the most right now? That's a great question, actually. There's a couple people. Not necessarily it's kind of a little bit of a packed question on that one, because when I think of competing with some of these people, it's not necessarily like oh man, I want to take them down type of thing. It's kind of just more just thinking off the top of my head. It's like, oh man, it'd be fun to do this. It'd be fun to do be fun to do this particular genre with this particular person. You know, I mean, and some of the people that I would love to have competed with at some point in time, some of them are retired. You know, I'm a big Shire Wolves fan, so that I mean, honestly, you know, Clark kind of went off and did her. You know, she moved on from the Schmoedown. You know, that's something that, you know, I have to respect, and that's something that, you know, it pains me as a fan that she's not competing like that anymore. And it's just, yeah, I would have loved to have competed with her at some point. But in terms of who's set up right now, you know what? I'm actually going to plead the fifth on that one, because there might be it might happen or it might not happen. I'm sorry. I feel like all the questions that you're asking me, I'm just like, oh man, I'm going to have to plead the fifth on that one. but in terms of, and the thing is, it's so tough for me to talk about that, because there's a whole genre that like, for every person that I want to compete against, there's like a genre that I want to go into, and I'm like, oh man, it'd be great to do this genre with this competitor, or it'd be great to do this genre with this competitor. But the thing is, even doing something like that is showing your cards and showing what you can and can't do. And I still haven't done my first match yet either. So yeah, there's still a level of expectation that's going into that, and there's still a level of just trying not to set yourself up for failure, if that makes any sense, and then just trying to just come off as big of a surprise as you possibly can do. But I mean, but in general, I mean, like, you know, there's, you know, I mean, it'd be fun to compete with. It'd be fun to compete with Bateman at certain points. You know, he's a big action guy. I mean, it'd be fun to go up against. Well, this is before I got drafted into Dungeon, but I mean, I always thought it'd be a lot of fun to go up against Smets at some point. But you know, he's a teammate now, and if like what's called, like, you know, teammate, he's a really good dude as well too. And like, you know, just being on the same team with him, that's sort of a dream come true for me as well. Yeah, and I mean, and just seeing what Guy's been up to. I mean, especially with his turn to heel last year. I mean, like that would have been a great matchup as well too. I mean, and one of my friends as well too. I mean, I'd love to go up against the Barbarian at some point. I mean, just the fact that, you know, I mean, like, yeah. I mean the what's called the kayfabe already started to go into play at that point in time as well too, and it's just like, yeah, like the first time I got drafted, I put up a photo and like I put like, not a congratulations for myself, not mind you, just sorry, but just sort of as like a big thank you to everybody that had gotten me to that place and stuff like that, like. Nerd Chronic, Video Drew was a big part of that as well. Barbarian was on a couple other podcasts as well, where he was basically saying, "Oh, well, you know, there's this Andres guy that at some point I think he'd be a strong competitor and stuff like that." And I was just like, "Oh man, like all these people that gave me a shout out and stuff like that, you know, just go ahead and thank them." And then Barbarian's first comment was, "Great, so now you have a front row seat for when the Finstock comes up and beats everybody." I'm just like, oh man, we're on this right now, man. We're on this. So yeah, in that sense, I think it'd be fun to go up against Barbarian as well. Like there's so many people that I would love to compete against, and it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what, nowadays. It's more of a maybe as opposed to, you know, a pipe dream, if that makes any sense.
All right. Now, we did talk a little bit about this before we went on live here. And again, I apologize to anybody that watches these shows. I keep saying it. until I feel like I'm not anymore. But I'm a rookie fan, and I'm trying to figure things out. The scoring system still feels a little wonky to me of how they do it for the factions. I don't know if you might be able to explain that to me a little bit more, because I know Christian was talking about it here this match, the past Star Wars match. He was explaining how the one team went from dead last up to sixth, and
Yeah.
like there's like, I guess KO, you get more points than TKO, you get the most points. And I mean, I'm starting to get the basis of it, but I'm not quite there yet.
No, pretty much for the most part, that's exactly how it works. I mean, like, the thing is that it just takes a little getting used to in terms of what the scoring system is like. But honestly, that's kind of the way it is. And I know as a future competitor as well too, there's certain things I'm trying to figure out as well. But it's all just in just immersing yourself as much as you can and trying to understand as much as you can from the said thing. But I mean, yeah, for the most part, I think that's exactly how it works as well too. I mean, you get certain points for doing certain things, and then I know the trade-offs. I mean, I know trading and drafting also plays a little bit of a role into that, I believe. But I'm as a competitor, I'm also figuring that stuff out as well too. And I think probably one of the biggest things for me is just at the end of the day, you have no control over the point system, or in terms of just what happens. You know, the only thing you can do and the only thing you can concern yourself with, even right now for myself, is just going in and trying to play as good of a game as you possibly can. Because if you start
every match I've watched so far or listened to, because I'm listening all the way back from the start, and I've been watching all of season 7.
Oh yeah,
it feels like every match everybody gives everything, and that's great. I love that, especially right now in the day and age where we don't have anything else. I mean, granted, NASCAR's back, and I'm a huge NASCAR fan. Live, die, breathe NASCAR here in my house. But even so, that still doesn't fill the need for the sport. And I feel like Schmodown is filling that need. And I'm loving it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I kind of caught a little bit of crap for this when I revealed that I'm okay. People, I understand this is a hated football team, Patriots. I know, we keep winning and all this other stuff. But as a New Englander myself, I have to represent the home state. Like, you know what I mean? I have to represent where I'm from. You know, there's a lot of things I don't necessarily agree with what they've done, and certain people that I don't agree with what they've done as well too. But you know,
have to ask.
You're cutting off right there.
I said, open doors. Fellow Patriots fan here. Your thought Brady leaving?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, you know, Brady.
Are you for it or against it?
You know, I mean, in terms of the Patriots being able to win in the future, I don't know. It's kind of a double-sided thing, because at the same time, I feel that the Patriots they've definitely had an amazing streak, and you know, Brady is legendary in that sense as well. But at the same time, it kind of feels like this was going to happen at some point, and it just kind of feels like time has caught up with that. And in terms of Brady leaving, it's going to be interesting, but at the same time, I've always had that notion in the back of my head that whatever happens, no matter if a player is great or not, they're going to get traded or they're gonna go somewhere else. I mean, I'm sort of a little jaded because of the fact that when I was a kid, I was a big Michael Jordan fan, and then he got traded off to Washington, and then that was just something I was like, oh man, all right, well, you know, you can't get too attached because these players are tradable in a sense.
I honestly, and I see John's in the chat here, so again, John's going to hear this. I am 100% for Brady going bye-bye. I hate Brady so much. He is such a crybaby, and I hate Belichick so much. He is the Darth Sidious of the NFL. I hate them both.
The Dark Sidious of the NFL. That's great. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing too: is that honestly, we all hate change until all of a sudden it's the best thing that's ever happened. That's why I'm kind of like. I can't necessarily go into the if I'm for or against Brady leaving, because who knows? Maybe it might be the best thing that has happened to the Patriots. Maybe it might be the worst thing that has happened to the Patriots. But at the same time, it's, who knows by this point. And then also as much as Brady is getting all this like media around him and all this like praise and stuff like that, despite certain things, of course. You have to. I'm sorry, I just saw the comment right here. I got distracted, but but
yeah, that's John.
Yeah, that's John. Hey, John, how's it going? Sorry if I didn't answer in full detail the questions that you had as well, but yeah. But you have to also realize that they're a team as well, and that as much as one player can get all the credit and stuff like that, at the end of the day, I don't think Brady would be anything without his team behind him. So, it could be a good thing. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. That's all I'm saying. But for myself personally, I'm always up for change. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I see us having a lackluster year. I mean, that's even if the NFL even gets off the ground, all things considered.
Yeah.
But because the last I heard, the NFL wasn't planning on getting the season going unless all the teams could be on an even keel.
Yeah.
Which I totally get, totally understand, and I commend the NFL for that. I don't commend Goodell for much because I put Goodell on the same pedestal as I put Belichick. I hate them both. I feel they're both Sith Lords of the NFL. I would say that Goodell is Darth Bane to Belichick's Darth Sidious. So,
yes, good.
Just yeah. Lots of hate runs through me for Belichick and Tom and Goodell. That trio, I hate them all. That's my trinity of hate.
Yeah, no. And that's totally understandable on that front as well.
But I see us not winning the division. I don't see us making the playoffs. If we do, it'll be a wild card, and we'll get knocked out round one. We'll get knocked out right there in the wild card. And I'm
sorry. When you went playoffs, I just thought of Jim Moore. Playoffs? Wait, I just hope we can win a game. Playoffs.
But honestly, I think the Bills take our division this year. Because the Bills were strong last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I see the Bills taking our division this year, just because of all things considered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's totally true.
So, I mean, I know as a Patriots fan, that's also going to be another reason for them to burn my hotel down, as John would say. But I mean, thank God I'm not in Minneapolis. June? Sorry, I went there. I kind of that one's just hanging there. I had to take it.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, thank you for being on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me on board, man. I mean, honestly, it was fun to just chat up and stuff like that. But I kind of feel like a lot of the questions that were asked, I'm like, shit, I can't answer a lot of that stuff right now. It's like
a nice story. That's awesome. Like my reaction that I had when you said what that was is like that would be my reaction in real life, if not pass out. Like
oh yeah, no, that's particularly just a fun one. I mean, because for the longest time I couldn't tell that story to anybody because you just feel that with NDAs and all this other stuff, you feel like there are a group of lawyers just waiting to come out and be like, and then you're just like, no, it's just they just don't want you to speak when it's in production. That's basically about it. But like, yeah, it was funny that some of my roommates didn't even know I worked on it. I mean, like they would see I would come home and they just assume, oh well, what's her name? And I'm like, I'm not.
Now, did you get any credit in the credits for that?
No. That's the thing is that with being a production assistant, you hardly if ever get any credit. Like it's mostly goes uncredited. Like if as much as the credits go on for like 10 or 15 minutes or so, you have to realize that for every one of those names that pop up, there's probably 10 or 15 different names that are right behind that are basically just like, oh, this is also somebody that didn't get credit on or probably didn't work on it nearly as much. Or the other thing too is sometimes you can't necessarily put on screen like, oh, the second unit caterer or something like that, like, or like, oh, the second unit PA when there's 20 of us, like, you know what I mean? It's a slippery slope. I mean, I didn't get credit for any of it on screen. That was probably one thing that me and my buddies when we went to go see Dark Knight for the first time, and they were like, well, you never know. Let's look out for your name and stuff like that. And I just remember seeing that movie for the first time, and then just my jaw was on the ground, just having experienced that movie, and I was even looking for my name. And then like me and my buddies were all talking about it right afterwards. We were like, oh, we forgot to look for your name in the credits, man. I'm like, oh, it's fine. That's fine.
My favorite scene in that movie is where the Joker goes to blow the hospital up and it doesn't blow up right away, and he's going and he's fiddling with it and it blows up.
Oh yeah, actually, I came back into town on the day that they shot that. Actually, nice. and when I came back into town, that was when the school semester was about to start up and all sorts of stuff. That was actually a candy factory that they were going to tear down, and basically they got permission from the city to basically turn that candy factory into a hospital, and then they just blew it up. So they basically did the city's work by blowing it up.
Yeah, it's efficient.
Yeah, it works.
All right. Well, I know you're pressed for time. I can sit here and talk to you for however long. But
oh yeah, I mean, we've been on for a little bit, right?
Yeah, we're an hour right now. We're pushing an hour 10 minutes.
Okay.
But I know you do, and so just you and.
Oh, sorry, you cut off there for a second. I'm sorry.
I was saying that was a great talk that we had tonight. Hopefully, John can join us the next time. Love to have you back.
Oh,
so
yeah,
maybe even like right after your first match on Schmodown. So,
oh yeah, I'd love to come back for that. Yeah, I'd love to come back and just chat up with both of you guys.
All right, so where can everybody find you at?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Galleghost. You can also find me doing Nerd Chronic and Video Drew's Video Chronic quizzes every now and again. I pop up as a guest. That's sort of been a hobby for me for a little bit, was just writing quizzes for them. So I can't necessarily say what's going to be on the next one, but it's going to be a fun time, so people should tune in. And that's basically where you can find me. And on Twitter, I'm also a working video editor as well too. So a friend of mine just posted up I just worked on a Man of Steel retrospective video for a friend of mine, Higher Voltage. He has some really great things to say about Man of Steel and why it's criminally underrated. And also we got a legion of other films in the pipeline as well too. That he's going to talk about, and that I'm going to edit for him. And Man on Fire is going to be the next one, so I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that. But that's pretty much where you can find me, man.
All right, and as always, you can find me any branch of social media. Just look up Poto Nerd. If I'm on it, you'll find me. Also, Patreon. Just look up Hotel Nerd. You'll find me there. Also, one thing I wanted to put out there too, because actually Larry, who I call my Newman, I'm surprised I don't see him here in the chat tonight. He wanted to point out, do the ratings on podcasts, because now we're actually getting established and we're starting to get a base. Give us ratings on wherever you listen to us at, so that maybe draw attention to some sponsors and make a little revenue and make things better. Same thing with donations on Streamlabs and PayPal. Mm-hmm. You guys want to ask questions like tonight? If you wanted to ask questions to me or Galleghost, Streamlabs is the way to go. That's the way to get everything through to us, and it gives us revenue to build the channel bigger and better. Because I would love to do upgrades to be able to give the best product possible and eventually maybe be on Christian's level with SEM. So, I mean, for me, as of the moment, that's a pipe dream, like far off in the distance, but it's possible if people help me out. Yeah. So, rate on the podcast wherever you can, like and subscribe to the channel, and just show us support all the way around. So, I mean, I have people in here that I see on the daily when we do videos, like the Prince That Wasn't Promised, PC, Larry's normally in here. I love the fact that we got somebody from Madagascar today. That just blows my mind. Okay. Massive O, that's his name. Massive O. Dark Faith 66. They're always a mainstay now. So, I mean, we're getting there. It's just, we just need some extra boost, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so, definitely.
But yeah, thank you again. Appreciate it. Sorry that I just went on a little tirade there.
No, it's fine. I went on my tirade too for a little bit, so it's all good. I mean, hell, even before we started the stream, so yeah. Yeah. Hey, some of the stories you were telling, though, man, I mean, you got a story to tell. I'm not going to stop you. So, yeah, I'll come on. I'll come on next time, and I'll tell you a couple more as well too.
All right. I'm sure John will have some questions about that too. But yeah, thank you very much. Have a good night. Stay safe. Hopefully this pandemic lifts very soon and we can get to a certain point of normal.
Yeah.
So we can get back to studio matches and hopefully your debut sooner than later.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right?
Yeah. All right. You have a good night now.
Take care, guys.